First, some definitions. Self-righteousness has been defined as convinced of one's own righteousness, especially in contrast with the actions and beliefs of others. Also, narrowly moralistic. There's nothing wrong with this by itself. However, self-righteousness is bad if accompanied by one of the following: condemning a person for something when you are just as bad or worse in a different way, condemning someone for something that is not actually wrong, overreacting to the wrong someone did as if you are perfect or nearly so, being contemptuous or scornful. Such attitudes are either accompanied by a superior attitude of excessive criticizing, hatred, or shunning when shunning is uncalled for. This bad quality is similar to hypocrisy. The difference is that hypocrisy denotes pretending you are morally superior while knowing you are not. Who and what? Those who are self-righteous due to sinful pride actually believe their own bull dust. Other words to connotate this include affectedness, bumptiousness, double-dealing, and Phariseeism. This last word comes from the Pharisees, corrupt religious leaders of Jesus' time, most of whom were filled with either detrimental self-righteousness, hypocrisy, or some of both. But being Pharisaical is in no way limited to the very religious and even includes atheists. It infects every age group, background, culture, economic status, gender, intelligence level, orientation, political affiliation, profession, race, and social status. While some may be Pharisaical in only one or two areas, others may be disinterested in seeking any objective or unselfish standard of right and wrong. How this comes about. Everyone has certain behaviors or ideas they dislike, and there are always certain behaviors or ideas that are nearly absent or uncommon in a family, group, or society. So, a person or clique will focus on what they dislike and openly demonize or denounce it. This counterfeit righteousness usually makes something bad or problematic out to be much worse than it actually is. However, if one sees that if enough people are willing to demonize something that is morally neutral or even good, then that is fair game too. But if something is common or popular in a family, group, or society, even something as horrendous as torturing people to death, a person or clique will never vilify it. That's because instead of being the persecutors, they'd be the ones persecuted instead. And unfairly demonizing something is invariably accompanied by minimizing one's own bad habits, personal sins, and weaknesses. This unrighteousness always starts out small but may envelop the entire country. Examples of self-righteousness. It was common among religious people to give extra attention to homosexual behavior while ignoring other things Christianity clearly condemns. For example, my friend's Uncle Doug started abusing and mistreating his son after the son came out as gay. Yet Doug had an adulterous relationship with a mistress for years while he was married. The abuse of the son only stopped because he committed suicide, and Doug's adultery stopped only because he got caught. A common practice was exclaiming that the Bible condemned homosexual acts as an abomination, which called for the death penalty, citing a passage such as Leviticus 20:13. But all other practices listed in the Bible as abominations were completely ignored. For example, a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, hearts that devise wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaks lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. All from Proverbs 6:16-18. And all other practices calling for the death penalty were completely ignored. For example, adultery, Leviticus 20:10, breaking the Sabbath, Exodus 35:2, being a chronically disobedient child, Deuteronomy 21:18-21, and being a wizard, Leviticus 20:27. The reason people picked out this low-hanging fruit was that most people were never even tempted by homosexuality, and most people did not know anyone to be homosexual. But after the LGBTQ explosion in various countries, the tables were turned and many alternative people began persecuting fair-minded religious people by labeling their conscience-guided disapproval as hate, dumping them with the worst of the examples, and campaigning to ram their agenda down everyone's throat. More examples. Suicide is a sin and tragedy 99.9% of the time, and murder is a serious sin and tragedy 100% of the time. However, many who claim to be Christians have taken it upon themselves to declare that one or both of these things is an unforgivable sin. The only reason for this would be that they were never tempted by what they label unforgivable. Labeling them such is foreign to Christian scripture and early church history. As for suicide, the ignorance is especially glaring, since neither Christian scripture nor early churchmen even hint at it being worthy of utter condemnation, like they do. Showing themselves to be even more garble-brained, some such people may show compassion on terminally ill or suffering pets, but having them put to sleep, but condemn putting terminally ill or suffering people to sleep, even with verbal consent. More examples yet. Anyone who browbeats another for partaking of commonly used substances such as alcohol or marijuana where they are legal, yet they themselves use tobacco or drugs such as Prozac or Xanax, should sit down and shut up. That's because they are also substance dependent, which in some cases can be worse than alcohol or marijuana. Many people use alcohol and or marijuana to treat chronic anxiety and or depression. Usually prescribed medication failed to work for them, or they want to avoid going through a head shrinker to get them, as most psych professionals are crooks and quacks. Also, alcohol abuse cannot be precisely, the abuse of it cannot be precisely measured by any definitive quantity of alcohol. That's due to some people having an extremely high alcohol tolerance who must drink a lot just to get a relaxing effect. Yet others have a very low tolerance and would be drunk from just one glass of wine. Author, philosopher, and psychologist Jordan Peterson did the right thing by warning about the dangers of alcohol, considering all the harm alcohol has caused. However, he became severely addicted to benzodiazepines and needed to be treated in a hospital for withdrawal. This harms his credibility when criticizing other substances. Even more examples. Many liberals create their own standards from communism, whether they're aware of that or not. For instance, they censure someone just for displaying a flag or symbol they disapprove of. Chuck Netzhammer ordered a Confederate flag-themed cake from Walmart to also have the words heritage, not hate. Walmart refused to make it, citing policy. So, to prove a point, Chuck ordered a cake showcasing the ISIS flag that represents that terrorist group. Walmart promptly made the cake, which he photographed and put online. Their apology followed from fear of losing business, not from wanting to admit wrong. Even more common is demonizing conservative political parties as evil and or stupid just because they hold traditional positions on gender, lifestyle, and common sense. And people don't want to follow any rules. Some people condemn all horror movies as sinful and a waste of time just because they don't like horror movies, while approving of horrific warfare and wasting their time with something else. Others correctly upbraid abortion and child abuse, but show no concern for anyone over the age of 18. Others scorn other adults for engaging in various physical activities, saying they're only for kids, because they have bad feet or other physical problems. They can't handle physical exertion or what. People who are bad at board games and video games insult those who are good at them by calling them virgins, whether experienced sexually or otherwise, calling them that, or they call games juvenile or worthless waste of time, simply because they're bad at the games. Men who have a regular sex partner and women who lack a sex drive blackguard masturbation, even among men unable to find a partner. Married people facing a difficult marriage love calling people disturbed or weird for being single. Yet others declare that the conditions of autism and Asperger's syndrome are fake to avoid trying to understand or help them, with no logical reason to back up their erroneous conclusion. In fact, with so many examples of self-righteous pecksniffery by those who are not even righteous to begin with, I could write an entire book on it, but I'll leave it at this. Dealing with such people. Once unfair self-righteousness has been positively identified in someone, do not accept it, even if it comes from a parent, religious leader, doctor, policeman, professor, or king of planet Earth. Confronting them so that they change their attitude could be the best option. However, if you have repeatedly addressed the issue and they refuse to change, do your best to stay away from people who enjoy putting you down. Ignore, block, or run from these people if you have to. And don't be one of them!